So I literally just got filming a chatty video talking about my TBR read down process and what I learned from it, in which I discovered real time that I probably need to do another round of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start, the goal of this is to get down to 100 books on my physical TBR. We'll do that as a one-timer and then give myself like a 10 book cushion going forward. But I realized I could look at my spreadsheet, but I kind of don't trust my spreadsheet a little bit, or I want to like validate it. So I'm gonna go around my house and find all of my physical TBR items and count them up to see how many books we're talking about that I need to read. I'm a little scaled about what this will reveal. So yeah, let's come with me. The goal of this video is going to be to do my first vlog, restarting the read down project, and we're gonna figure out what that first one's gonna look like. So come with me on this journey. Let's see what happens. Boy, friends, sorry, trying to not frame you too crazily here. Yeah, so it's bad, guys. This is bad stuff. So by my count, I have 245 physical books, which means I'm trying to I'm trying to read 145. So, okay. That feels like something that is gonna take more than a year based on current reading rates. But I don't know, I am very motivated by gamification, so this may in fact induce me to read more. I will say that of those 245, I have either book club or research plans for, oh god, okay, I forgot that one, for 15 of them. So that's good. That means there's only 230 left that I don't have a plan for, which is really only 130 that I need to find a plan for. Okay. I can do that. I can definitely do that. Let's go, you know what, out of curiosity, let's cross-check my real, oh, I just saw one that I didn't count. Okay, so make that 246. Okay. Let's go check the spreadsheet to see how close I am to that number. And then maybe, God, where to start? Oh, actually, I have an idea of where we can start. Let's look at the spreadsheet first. Well, just as I feared, I have, according to the spreadsheet, 340. I think some of these are more reference books now that I'm looking at this. But here's what I'll do. I think that the physical count makes more sense anyway, because like I just verified the ones that I think of as being on my physical TBR. I think we're going to start with the 240. Then once I get through those, we'll come back and try to figure out how to make the numbers match, maybe. But yeah, okay, I have an idea for what I think the first vlog project should be, though, because the one book that was not in the spreadsheet that I need to add is 5 Found Dead by Sulari Gentle, which is her newest book, which I pre-ordered, which reminded me of a shameful fact, which is that I never actually read the pre-order I got from her last year, okay? I'm behind in my pre-orders. So I think this actually is a very easy place to start with a vlogging project. So let's read my pre-orders that I paid money for ahead of time and haven't read yet. So we've got these 2 Sulari Gentle ones, The Mystery Writer and 5 Found Dead. We've got, it's really shameful when it's in the same series, Can I just say, I've got 2 Rebecca Thorne ones, Tea You at the Altar and A Pirate's Life for Tea, which is a speculative romance series. Then I have Bound to the Shadow God by Ruby Dixon, which is a, what's the word I'm looking for? Fantasy romance with like a demon, I think. I've got A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is a fantasy mystery series. And then The Marble Hall Murders by Anthony Horowitz, which is the finale in a meta mystery trilogy. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 7 books. That's somewhere. We got to start somewhere. So that, I think, is where we'll start. Okay, I'll talk to you when I've read a book. Well, update number 1, guys. And I have 2 books to tell you about. Isn't that impressive? I think it is. So I did catch up on the, what is it, the Tea and Tomes and Tea series. So I read A Pirate's Life for Tea and Tea You at the Altar. The original, God, what was the original called? Well, now I'm gonna have to try to figure out what the original was called, but it is a book. It's billed as a cozy fantasy. Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. That was the original. And it's billed as cozy fantasy. I would say this probably has too much plot for what I think of as cozy fantasy. I would probably put this more into the romantasy category, but it is 2 ladies in love, which is always great to see in these books. It's very cute. One of them is like the most powerful like magic user in their realm. The other one was one of the heads of the Queen's Guard. You know, they've had like kind of a covert love affair, and then one day the Queen's Guards, she just decides she's running away to be with her lady love. And it's very cute. There's dragons, there's tea. They find, you know, they have their own little community. This book, A Pirate's Life for Tea, is the sequel, and as suggested in the title, it is a lot of sea shenanigans, and it's mostly, so like our original couple, Key and Ray, are still main characters in this, but there's a new romance with kind of like second chance, you know, lovers to enemies to lovers kind of a thing. So that's the main plot thrust of this. And this is definitely my least favorite of the 3. I'd probably give this 3 stars. This one is where they are actually finally getting married. So it is very cute with all the wedding prep. And then there's also like, are they gonna also take part in this conspiracy to overthrow the queen? Because she is bad, bad, bad. Yeah, I would say the first one is definitely still my favorite. This was very cute, and it does leave on a big cliffhanger, but I honestly think I'm probably good on this world. Like, the characters I care about are married. I'm sure they're gonna find a way out of where the cliffhanger leaves them. And yeah, I think I've gotten what I need out of this. I think it's really cute, and it is a 4-book series that I would recommend if this sounds appealing. But again, I would probably recommend it mostly as romantasy rather than cozy fantasy. Or if you like cozy fantasy but you think it does need a bit more plot, this could also be a good option for that. So yeah, 2 books down, and I guess I can call this series done for me. So that's exciting, another exciting thing. And I kind of want to pick up the Ruby Dixon next, but maybe I need to get through some of the mysteries because I have several of those. So I don't know what I'm going to read next, but you'll know when I do. 2 updates for you guys. First, I did the painful work of actually going through my spreadsheet and comparing it with what I had counted. And I got a lot closer on my reconciliation. So I realized that there were some books that needed to be included that I didn't include in my physical count because they were just shelved in a different place. So the number of books I counted physically is actually 258, okay? But that's the baseline. I'm not changing this again. The spreadsheet shows 254, and I think once I get much closer to 100, we'll do another round of reconciliation to figure out where I'm off for those 4. But 258 is the number we're gonna go with. Okay, so that's update number 1. Update number 2 is that I DNF The Mystery Writer by Sulari Gentle. I just wasn't feeling the characters, I think, is pretty much what this came down to. Yeah, the main character, Theo, is just like kind of too stupid to live, which I think is on purpose, but it just wasn't working for me for some reason. So she was studying to be a lawyer in Australia. She decides to give that up to be a mystery writer. She goes to stay with her brother in Kansas, and like she meets a local author. There's death. And she, mystery ensues. There's also these little interstitials of like a QAnon type conspiracy. It just wasn't, tickling my pickle, so to speak. I just wasn't into it. So I am very excited for the other book that I have, which is 5 Found Dead. But I think the moral of this, now that I've read, so I DNF this, but I've read 2 other of her books. I absolutely loved The Woman in the Library. And after she wrote him, I respected but didn't fully connect with. So I think kind of what the moral of the story here is I need to just stick with books from this author in tropes that I like. And at least that's my hypothesis, because the next one I have is a isolated closed circle mystery. So that I'm expecting I'm really going to love from her. But yeah, I DNF'd this around 100 pages, and it wasn't holding my attention. I was like, I just don't see myself giving this anything more than a 3, and it's feeling more like a 2. I'm just not in the mood. So, DNFing this one, onwards and upwards. Yo, I finished another book, and that was A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is the sequel to The Tainted Cup that came out last year, and they are both fantasy mysteries. They are, I think you probably should read The Tainted Cup before you read this, but there's mappage in here to orient you, and then bless him for doing this, and please, more authors who write in series, please do this. He gives you a nice little 2-pager reminding you what the fuck is going on in this world and where we are. And I just appreciate that, because I read a lot of books, and even if you don't, if there's like a year between releases, people forget things. So bless you for doing that. So with that being said, I think you could just pick this up if you decided you wanted to do that. I love this. I gave this 4.5 stars. I think this was better than the first one. I think because it was more mystery-y. It was really a procedural, with some good political intrigue, and I felt like the place was much more evocative in this one. Like, the setting I thought was really well realized. Our main characters, Anna and Den. Anna is... So in this world, there are people who have, like, these alchemical alterations to themselves that give them these, preternatural abilities. Anna is the lead detective in this sort of, like, imperial judicial branch. She's a Sherlockian type who is so brilliant, like she has to be blindfolded most of the time because just seeing things in the world is so overwhelming to her brain. She has an assistant who's sort of the Watson type, named Den, and he's something called an engraver, which means he can remember everything. So he'll go to the scene, he'll sniff something out of a vial, and then he can remember literally everything in the room. So he's kind of her eyes and ears, and then he brings stuff back to her. And this particular one is set like further north, and it has to do, well, I guess there are some like not spoilers from the first book, but you get some reveals in the first book about what's going on with the world. So I won't get into that too much here in case you do want to read these in order, but there's a place of significance based on what we find out about the world building in the first book, where a treasury official has gone missing. It's a locked room mystery. How did he die? What the fuck is going on? Mystery shenanigans ensue from there. There's like cult type things, there's political intrigue, there's local politics, just all the stuff. And I thought that while this was a little too long, like I think there was maybe a little too much complication thrown in the middle. Other than that, this was just a really satisfying whodunit in a fantastical world, which is one of my very favorite things. So I really like this one, and I think it was better than the first one, at least for what I enjoy in this kind of book. So big, bouncing back from a disappointment to a big hit, which feels lovely. I just realized I never actually updated you guys on Marble Hall Murders by Anthony Horowitz. Yeah, this was good. I read this a couple days ago, and I will say it's already kind of fading from my mind, so that tells you something. But yeah, I think I gave the first book a 4.5, the second book a 5, and I'm gonna give this one a 4. I think it's the weakest of the three because the book, so it's a book within a book. That's this series' whole thing, is that they're whodunits, classic whodunits, and it's following this editor named Susan Ryland, and she had this famous kind of Christie-esque author she was editing, and he has this series a la Poirot with the Atticus Pound detective. So like you get the Atticus Pound novel within the book itself. So in each of these books, you're basically getting 2 books. You're getting Susan Ryland's story, and then you're also reading the Atticus Pound book. And in this one, I think the Atticus Pound one was good. Like, it was my favorite part. It was a classic country house whodunit. But I seem to recall in the other ones, we just get the novel fully in the middle of the book, versus this one like broke it up in a way that I didn't think was as successful. I think that this would have been better. I understand why there's like the meta plot, the Susan Ryland plot. There was a reason why at least the last part of the book may not have been included when we read it, but I think it would have been better if we'd gotten the rest of the book together. So that's one criticism I have. The other is I think I liked how the Atticus Pound book went, but I thought the Susan Ryland portion, at least in part, the resolution to that I thought was not very satisfying. I don't want to give spoilers, so I guess I can't really say much more than that, but I'll just say her involvement in the ending I did not care for. So, but overall I still enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. But if you can't tell, I really, really love the first 2. So in some sense, a little bit of a letdown, but not really. I mean, I feel like this year I've not had a lot of traditional mysteries that I've been rating very highly. So honestly, what a thrill to just have a mystery and enjoy it. We'll call that a win. Hi there. We are tantalizingly close to being done because I did finish Bound to the Shadow Prince by Ruby Dixon last night. I struggle to know what to do with this kind of romantasy. I think people I don't know if this will make people who like romantasy happy, because I don't know who this is really for, because it's half what I like in this kind of book, which is, kind of a tough on the outside, but sweetie on the inside male lead. They're trapped in this tower together because of religious reasons in this world, and they have to stay there for 7 years. They can't leave. They've each been sort of like sacrificed to do that by their countries. Their countries are at war, so they're trapped together and they like find love. It's that half of that. And then the other half, it's like, oh, I'm so, like, maybe you can't trust me. I'm your enemy. I'm emo. Like, I just don't like that conflict, but I know a lot of people do. And so therefore, I don't know who this is making fully happy, because I think the male lead in this one is too nice for a lot of people who like romantasy, but he is too, like, deceitful for no reason for people who like my version of a fantasy romance. So I'm gonna give this like 3.5. I kept, I kept reading it. I was into it. There is one major plot hole in the world building that bothered me. And then also content warnings for war stuff. That's the other thing. People who like this kind of romantasy like dark, crazy things happening on the outside of the love story, and this includes that, which I think people do enjoy. But when I'm reading two people boning down, I don't then want the next scene to be about war crimes. Like, that's just, for me, that's a tone shift that does not work for me. 1 second she's, being knotted, and then the next second her sister is telling her about how her baby was ripped out of her arms. And so, I don't know. It's just not for me. But because I kept compulsively reading it, I guess I'll give it a 3.5. I like it better than some of the other romantasy stuff I've read, that's for sure. Okay, conflicted if you can't tell. I'm also about halfway through Five Found Dead. I'm getting my day going right now, but I'm hoping that I can finish this on my lunch break and we can officially call this vlog done. I will just go ahead and tell you I've had several pre-orders come in. And then I had a bunch of books I ordered for research for some projects that I'm working on. So I am not confident. I haven't done the math yet, but I'm not going to be surprised. I will not be surprised if I'm at a higher number at the end of this vlog than I was at the beginning. Which is a little dispiriting, but this is why I gotta do this. Anyway, I'll check back in once I finish Five Found Dead. Okay. Done. Done. So, I just finished Five Found Dead on my lunch break. I have mixed feelings about this. So, before I forget, I do love the end papers they did here. With the cute little trains. Lovely. So, Five Found Dead is an isolated close circle mystery. It's on a train. It's on the Orient Express, as a matter of fact, so there is some metatextual nods to Agatha Christie. Sulari Gentle pretty much always has some metatextual element in her standalones, which is all I've read from her. In this case, our main characters are a set of twins, Joe and Meredith. Joe is a mystery writer who just survived cancer. So this is, Meredith is like, let's go on the train on the Orient Express together. He's kind of trying to find his way back to writing again. This will be good inspo, and we're celebrating, being cancer-free. That's the setup. They meet a bunch of different people on this train through, plot machinations. A lot of them are related to crime detection of some kind or another, including podcasters, police inspectors, private eyes, all the good stuff. So, yeah, and then, like, the card next to them is found after the first night. It is found to be filled with blood, but there's no body, so, like, is the person alive or not? Then more death ensues. So, there's a lot going on in it. I would not say this is, I don't have a critique of this of being like dull or not interesting. I was interested in this throughout. I just think it was so over the top in some ways that I just didn't fully suspend my disbelief. I will say probably that is because of two factors that are idiosyncratic to me. One is part of the tension is that there is a new COVID outbreak happening, and as somebody whose father passed away from something like COVID, when he was recovering, like when he was newly cancer-free because his immune system was so compromised. I found that very distracting in this book. And then also, I have thought about taking the Orient Express as like, you know, when I turn 40, that kind of a thing. So I've looked up the cost. And this is so insanely expensive and is not the kind of happenstance of people being on this train. It was hard for me to suspend my disbelief because most of them were not fabulously wealthy. And it is so, it's something I could afford as a treat, but it would be something, it was very clear that it was a treat, right? Like, it's not something I would casually just say like, oh, you know, I'm retired, so I'm taking this trip just for fun by myself. Like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like there was the luxuriousness and extravagance of what this was to me didn't come up enough, or it didn't inform suspicion enough, because there were people I was suspicious of because I'm like, why are you here when this is so expensive? And it just didn't pan out. So anyway, I think for me that was distracting. The other thing I think I'm now like concretizing about Sulari Gentle, and why I think I'm going to move her to a library author for me, is that she has this writing voice that when I read it in The Woman in the Library, I took as a choice. Sort of a almost like satirical version of a slightly too stupid to live main character. I thought that was the vibe. And maybe it is a choice, but I will say that now that I've read all 4 of her standalones, it is the same voice pretty much in every single one of them. So I think of it less as a choice and more just like she writes a lot of too stupid to live main characters. And so now that I've seen that, I'm sort of like, I don't know. But this is my kind of plot, my kind of atmosphere. I thought the solution to this was really fun, though over the top. So I would say that I liked the book that this reminds me a lot of is With a Vengeance by Riley Sager that came out this year. I think these are very similar train isolation tropes. Yeah, there's definitely some parallels there too now that I'm thinking about it, but I won't get into that for spoiler reasons. If I'm comparing it to that, I like this better than that one. So I'm between a 3 to 3.5. I'll probably give this a 3.5 because I had more, it's a trope I like so much, and it was a pretty, it was a faithful version of the trope, which I appreciated. Let's say 3.5. I enjoyed this. And with that got me through the pre-orders as they stood when I started this vlog. At least 2 more pre-orders come in. Yes, I'm looking at them. Also, 3 pre-orders. An ARC has come in, and then I got so many research books. Okay, so I need to do the math, and I'll leave out on that. I very well may have more books on my physical TBR than when I started, but I think I'm in more reality about that. I am in more awareness about it, and you will be getting more vlogs of me trying to get down to 100 books on my physical TBR. Can she do it? Let's go on this journey together and see. Let me go do some math, and I'll talk to you guys later.